And I'd like to keep talking about him, brother. I got 43 minutes to go. Number 7. Arguably the most skilled center of all time in NBA history, his post moves, his ability to handle the rock, and his athleticism are unmatched to this point by other NBA centers from any era. I say the closest to him is probably David Robinson. He racked up honor after honor in his NBA career, was a Finals MVP 2 times, League MVP once. He would have had more MVPs. Here's another guy overshadowed by the great Michael Jordan. Was the only player in NBA history to win an NBA League MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and NBA Finals MVP in the same year. League MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP in the same year. The only guy to do it. He peaked out at just shy of 28 points per game. His rebounding peaked out at 14 rebounds. He had 6 years over 3 assists per game, which is great for a big man out of the post. 9 years over 3 blocks per game, which is incredible. He had a season at 4.6 blocks per game in the 89-90 season. 5 years over 2 steals per game as well, which is really hard to do as a big man. He ended his career as a 51.2% shooter, 3.1 blocks, 1.7 steals, 11.1 rebounds, 21.8 points per game. Hakeem, and actually those are eerily similar to Tim Duncan for regular season. He raised his level of play in the playoffs, though. Ended his playoff career as a 52.8% shooter, 11.2 rebounds, 3.2 assists, 25.9 points per game in the playoffs. Finished top 10 in MVP voting 10 times, top 3 in MVP voting 5 times. You do the math. You tell me if it wasn't for MJ, how many times he could have been MVP. Yeah. He is the dream, Hakeem Olajuwon.
And man, he's number 1 all time in all-time blocks, right? I mean, block shots. Yeah,
but that wasn't recorded, back in the Bill Russell, Wilt days. So that's why I don't name that.
Yeah, that's true.
Or
that's true.
I would.
Yeah, but I mean, personally, he's the best shot blocker I've ever seen in the league, and a dominant defender, a great rebounder, a great post moves. I mean, he even had a 17-foot shot. I mean, the dude, man, that guy, man. I mean, he was a dominant player, and like you said, he raised his level of play in the biggest games. He played against Shaquille O'Neal and dominated him. I mean, absolutely dominated him. I mean, Shaq had some good games in those series, but he was killing Shaq in those series, and I think that was Hakeem's 10th year in the league. I mean, it wasn't like it was Hakeem was getting he was a young dude. He was older. I mean, Shaq was in his third or fourth year in the league. In his physical prime, and he got dominated. And
best
Hakeem
post moves ever.
Yeah.
Best post moves ever for a big man.